The Theronian royal cruiser was 17 hours into its diplomatic mission to Earth when Princess Lyanna Velshari collapsed on the observation deck. I was the night shift maintenance technician, running diagnostics on the environmental systems when I heard the commotion. Royal guards shouting in their melodic language, footsteps running past my access corridor, and then an alarm that made my translator implant scream warnings about a medical emergency. I shouldn't have gotten involved. Protocol was clear. Human staff were to maintain professional distance from the Ronian royalty at all times. We were here to keep their ship running while they conducted their diplomatic tour of Earth's major cities, nothing more. But I'd been a Navy corpsman before I became a civilian contractor. Some instincts don't fade just because you change jobs. I dropped my diagnostic tablet and ran toward the observation deck. The scene was chaos. Princess Lyanna, who I'd seen only in briefings, a striking figure with luminescent blue skin and crystalline hair that refracted light into rainbows, was on the floor, surrounded by panicking guards and attendants. Her skin had gone dark, almost navy, and her breathing was rapid and shallow. The Theronian physician was frantically scanning her with medical instruments, speaking rapidly into a comm device. Nobody was actually touching her. "What happened?" I asked, pushing through the crowd. One of the guards turned, his hand moving to his weapon before recognizing my contractor uniform. "Human, you should not be here. I'm a trained medic. What are her symptoms?" "She cannot breathe properly. Her resonance frequency is destabilizing. The physician says it is anaphylactic cascade, but he cannot determine the cause." The guard looked genuinely frightened. "She is dying." Anaphylaxis, I understood, even if the alien terminology was different. A severe allergic reaction, potentially fatal if not treated immediately. What was she exposed to? New food, environmental factors, anything unusual? Nothing. She was merely observing your planet through the viewport, and then she collapsed. I looked at the viewport, then at the princess. Her lips, darker blue than her skin, were starting to turn purple. Whatever was happening, it was happening fast. The physician was still running scans, not actually treating her. I made a decision that would either save her life or end my career. "I'm going to help her," I said, and dropped to my knees beside the princess before anyone could stop me. The guards shouted. Hands grabbed at me, trying to pull me back, but I'd already reached for her wrist, checking for a pulse the old-fashioned way. And the moment my skin touched hers, everything changed. The princess gasped, a deep, shuddering breath that sounded like someone breaking the surface after nearly drowning. The dark navy color of her skin began to lighten, returning to its normal luminescent blue. Her eyes, which had been unfocused, suddenly locked onto mine, and I felt it. A surge of something that wasn't quite electrical, wasn't quite heat, but was definitely energy flowing between us. My translator implant went haywire for a second, then stabilized. "Don't let go," she whispered in perfect English, her voice harmonizing in a way that suggested she was speaking multiple frequencies at once. "Please, don't let go." I didn't. I held her wrist, feeling that strange energy continue to flow, and watched as her breathing stabilized, her color returned fully, and the crisis passed. The physician was staring at his instruments in shock. "Impossible. Her resonance has stabilized. The cascade has reversed." "How?" He looked at me, at my hand on the princess's wrist, and his expression shifted from confusion to something like horror. "Human," he said carefully, "please release Her Highness immediately." "She asked me not to," I replied, Release her now or you will be removed by force. Lyanna's hand moved weakly, grasping mine. No, he stays, that is a royal command. The guards looked at each other, uncertain. You don't disobey a direct order from the princess, but you also don't let a human commoner touch royalty. Finally, the physician nodded. Very well, Your Highness, but we must get you to the medical bay immediately. They transported us both to the medical bay, me still holding the princess's wrist because every time I tried to let go, her breathing would start to destabilize again. It was like I'd become a living medical device, some kind of biological stabilizer. The medical bay was impressive, all bioluminescent displays and equipment that looked more grown than built. They laid Lyanna on an examination platform, and I ended up sitting awkwardly beside it, our hands still connected. The physician ran every scan imaginable, consulting with other medical experts via hollow conference, speaking in rapid Theronian that my implant struggled to translate. Finally, after 2 hours of this, he turned to face me directly. You are David Chen, yes. Maintenance technician, formerly of Earth's Naval Medical Corps. That's me. You have saved Princess Lyanna's life. The Theronian Empire owes you a profound debt. He didn't sound happy about this. However, you have also created a significant complication. What kind of complication? The kind that will require extensive palace involvement and likely rewrite several thousand years of Theronian medical understanding. He pulled up a holographic display showing what looked like frequency waves. Theronians are resonance-based beings. Our biology operates through harmonic frequencies, what you might call bioelectric fields, though that's a crude simplification. Okay. Her Highness suffered a resonance collapse. Her frequencies became destabilized, causing a cascade failure across multiple biological systems. Without intervention, she would have died within minutes. But you're her doctor. Why didn't you stabilize her? He looked uncomfortable. I tried. The Theronian medical technology can correct most resonance imbalances, but this was different. This was caused by, he gestured vaguely. By Earth, I blinked. Earth caused her allergic reaction. Not Earth specifically, Earth's resonance field. Your planet has a unique electromagnetic signature. We knew this from our surveys, but we did not anticipate that it would destabilize the Theronian biology. Her Highness is particularly sensitive to resonance shifts due to her royal bloodline. When she approached the viewport and fully perceived Earth's field, her own frequencies tried to synchronize with it and failed catastrophically. So what did I do? You touched her, and somehow your biology, your human resonance field, acted as a bridge. You stabilized her frequencies by providing a compatible intermediary pattern. He leaned closer. David Chen, you are apparently biologically compatible with the Theronian royal physiology in a way that should be impossible. No other species in the known galaxy shares our resonance patterns. Yet you, a human, do. I looked down at Lyanna, who was resting but still holding my hand like a lifeline. Is this permanent? Am I stuck here? We don't know. We've never encountered this phenomenon before. Every time we've attempted to break the contact, Her Highness begins to destabilize again. He pulled up more data. The current theory is that your resonance has entangled with hers. Until she fully adapts to Earth's field, which could take days or weeks, she requires your presence to maintain stability. So I'm a medical device. You're a biological miracle that the palace is going to want to study extensively. He looked almost sympathetic. I'm afraid your life just became extraordinarily complicated. He wasn't wrong. Within 6 hours, the Theronian royal cruiser had recalled its entire diplomatic delegation and established a communication lockdown. Within 12 hours, 3 more physicians arrived, along with a palace official whose title translated roughly to Royal Crisis Manager. Her name was Sarath, and she was not happy. "Explain to me," she said in perfect, cold English, "how a human maintenance worker came to be bonded with the crown princess of Theronia." I touched her to check her pulse. She was dying. It was instinct. Instinct that has created a diplomatic incident of unprecedented scale. Sarath paced the medical bay like a caged predator. "Do you understand what you've done? Physical contact with the Ronian royalty is forbidden except under the most specific ceremonial circumstances. You've violated protocols that have existed for millennia." I saved her life. "Yes, which is the only reason you're not in a detention cell right now." She stopped pacing, looked at me directly. "The palace is sending a delegation. They arrive in 18 hours. Until then, you will remain with Her Highness. You will speak to no one outside this room, and you will not attempt to contact anyone on Earth. Is that clear?" "Am I under arrest?" "You're under royal protection, which is somehow both better and worse than arrest." She turned to the physician. "How long until she can safely separate from him?" "Unknown, days at minimum, possibly weeks. Her frequencies are adapting, but slowly." The human's resonance appears to be accelerating the adaptation process, but we don't fully understand the mechanism. Sarath muttered something in the Ronian that my implant translated as an extremely creative curse. "This is going to require explanations I don't know how to give." After she left, I sat in the quiet medical bay with a sleeping alien princess whose hand I was still holding and tried to process my new reality. I'd saved a life. That was good. I'd apparently violated alien royal protocol and created an interstellar diplomatic crisis. That was bad, and I had no idea what happened next. Lyanna stirred, her crystalline hair catching the bioluminescent lights and scattering rainbow patterns across the ceiling. Her eyes opened. They were violet with flecks of silver, far more human-like than most Theronian features, and focused on me. "You're still here," she said softly. "Don't have much choice. Apparently, I'm your biological life support system now. I'm sorry, this must be terrifying for you. I've had worse days, though admittedly not many." I shifted position slightly, trying to get comfortable. "How do you feel? Stable, calm, like I'm standing in the eye of a storm. Everything is chaos around me, but here, in this moment, with you, I'm at peace." She studied our joined hands. "Can you feel it, the resonance?" "I feel something, like a current, almost warm, steady." "That's our frequencies synchronizing. You're literally harmonizing with my biology, helping me maintain stability." She smiled slightly. "It's remarkably intimate for two people who have never actually met." "Well, we're meeting now. I'm David, though apparently everyone already knows that." "I'm Lyanna, though you probably know that too." Her smile faded. "I heard Sarath. She said the palace is sending a delegation. They'll want answers about why a human can do what you're doing, about what it means." "What does it mean?" "I don't know, but in the Ronian culture, resonance compatibility is significant. It's how we identify soul bonds, life partners, those destined to harmonize together." She looked away. "There are legends about resonance bonds that transcend species, but they're just stories, until now, I suppose." "Are you saying we're bonded, like magically connected or something?" Not magically, biologically, our frequencies have entangled. In the Ronian terms, that's more intimate than marriage. She laughed softly, without humor. My parents are going to have opinions about this, very loud opinions. The palace delegation arrived exactly 18 hours later, led by a tall, imposing Theronian whose title translated as First Harmonist of the royal court, basically the highest-ranking medical and spiritual authority in the Ronian society. His name was Velkorath, and he radiated authority the way Lyanna radiated light. He swept into the medical bay with an entourage of advisors, physicians, and what looked like armed guards, all of them staring at me like I was either a miracle or a threat, possibly both. Your Highness, he said, bowing to Lyanna with perfect precision. The Emperor and Empress send their deepest concerns for your well-being. We have come to assess the situation and determine the appropriate course of action. The appropriate course of action is letting David continue to help me, Lyanna said firmly. Without him, I would be dead. We are grateful for his intervention. However, the implications of a human sharing resonance bond with the Ronian royalty are extensive. Velkorath turned to me. David Chen of Earth, you will submit to examination. We must understand the nature of this compatibility before we can proceed. Proceed with what? With determining your future, and Her Highness's future, and potentially the future of the Ronian-Earth relations. He gestured, and two physicians approached with scanning equipment. This will not harm you. We merely need to map your resonance signature completely. The examination took 4 hours. They scanned every part of me, took tissue samples, analyzed my bioelectric field in ways I didn't fully understand. Velkorath consulted with his team in hushed Theronian, occasionally glancing at me with expressions that ranged from fascination to concern. Finally, he returned to where I sat beside Lyanna. The results are unprecedented, he began. Your resonance signature, David Chen, shows compatibility markers with the Ronian royal frequencies, specifically with the Velshari bloodline. What does that mean? I asked. It means you are biologically compatible with Her Highness in ways that should be impossible between species. The probability of random genetic drift creating such compatibility is effectively zero. He paused, which suggests this is not random. Lyanna sat up straighter. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that there may be shared ancestry between humans and the Ronians, ancient connections we've forgotten, or, he hesitated, or this is evidence of something the archives speak of but few believe, the resonance prophecy. The room went very quiet. You don't actually believe in the prophecy, Lyanna said carefully. I believe in data. And the data suggests that David Chen's resonance pattern matches the prophesied harmonizer, one who can bridge frequencies across species, who appears when needed to prevent catastrophic imbalance. That's a religious myth, one of the other advisors protested. Surely you're not suggesting. I'm suggesting we cannot ignore evidence simply because it challenges our understanding. Velkorath looked at me. David Chen, do you believe in destiny? I believe in doing the right thing when someone needs help. Everything else is just consequences. He smiled, the first genuine expression I'd seen from him. A pragmatic philosophy, perhaps appropriate for a harmonizer. He turned to his team. Prepare a report for the Emperor and Empress. Recommend full diplomatic recognition for David Chen, grant him provisional status within the royal household, and begin formal studies of human-Theronian resonance compatibility. You're making me part of the royal household? I asked incredulously. You're bonded to the crown princess. That makes you family by the Ronian law, whether we like it or not. He softened slightly. Besides, Her Highness clearly trusts you, and trust is something royalty rarely experiences genuinely. That alone makes you valuable. The next week was a whirlwind of diplomatic negotiations, medical studies, and increasingly surreal conversations about my role in the Ronian society. Earth's government was initially panicked. They thought the Ronians were holding me hostage. It took 3 separate video conferences with me confirming I was there voluntarily before they calmed down. The media, of course, went insane. Human SAVES alien princess dominated headlines for days, followed by increasingly wild speculation about the nature of our relationship. Through it all, I stayed by Lyanna's side. Not because I had to. By day 5, she could maintain stability on her own for short periods. But because we developed an odd kind of friendship born from enforced proximity and shared strangeness. She told me about growing up in a palace where everything was ceremony and protocol, where genuine connection was rare and usually politically motivated. About the pressure of being crown princess, expected to be perfect always to represent her entire civilization. I told her about growing up in Seattle, about joining the Navy to escape a dead-end life, about losing friends in combat and deciding I'd rather fix things than fight, about the weird isolation of being the only human on an alien diplomatic vessel. "We're both lonely," she observed one evening as we sat in the observation deck, watching Earth rotate below us. "You because you're far from home, me because home has never felt like home. Loneliness is universal, apparently," I said. "Doesn't matter if you're human or the Ronian. But you're not lonely now, are you?" I thought about it honestly. "No, not right now." "Neither am I," she smiled, her crystalline hair catching starlight and scattering it in beautiful patterns. "Thank you for that, for seeing me as Lyanna instead of Princess Lyanna, for treating this whole situation like it's just another problem to solve instead of a cosmic destiny." Is it a cosmic destiny? I don't know. Velkorath believes in the prophecy. My parents are traditionalists who will want formal resonance testing and ancestral compatibility checks. The palace will want political advantage from this situation. She turned to look at me directly. "But what do you want, David?" "Honestly, I want you to be okay. I want to go back to my regular life eventually, but not until I know you're stable. Beyond that," I shrugged. "I'll figure it out as I go. That's kind of my philosophy." "Pragmatic," she said, echoing Velkorath's words. "I like that." We sat in comfortable silence, watching Earth below, 2 people from different worlds learning to harmonize. 2 weeks after I'd first touched the princess, Velkorath declared her fully adapted to Earth's resonance field. She could maintain stability independently now, though our connection remained, a faint harmonizing that I could feel whenever she was near. "You're free to separate," he told us. "Though the bond will never fully break, you'll always be able to sense each other to some degree." That's the nature of resonance entanglement. "So what happens now?" I asked. "That's up to Her Highness and the Emperor." He looked at Lyanna. "You should know your parents wish to speak with you, and with David, they're arriving tomorrow." After he left, Lyanna paced the medical bay nervously. "My parents are intense. They'll have questions, expectations. They'll want to understand what you are to me, and I don't know how to explain it." "Tell them the truth. I helped you. We became friends. The rest is just biology." The rest is never just biology with royalty. Everything is politics, alliances, implications. She stopped pacing. They'll probably offer you a position, ambassador, cultural liaison, something that keeps you close to the palace and under their control. What do you want them to offer? I want them to let you choose, to live your life without obligation to me or the empire, but that's not how this works. Maybe we make it work that way. I stood facing her. You're the crown princess. Use that authority. Tell them I'm your friend and you want me treated as such. No obligations, no political strings, just respect for someone who helped when you needed it. She looked at me with something like hope. You make it sound simple. It is simple. Everything else is just people making it complicated. The Emperor and Empress of the Ronia arrived with all the ceremony and grandeur you'd expect. Their ship was 3 times the size of the royal cruiser, and their entourage included hundreds of officials, guards, and advisors. Emperor Koreth Velshari was tall even by the Ronian standards. His crystalline hair shot through with gold, his bearing absolutely regal. Empress Shayla was smaller, more delicate, but her eyes held keen intelligence that missed nothing. They swept into the observation deck where Lyanna and I waited, and I had the distinct impression of being evaluated by forces far beyond my understanding. Mother, father, Lyanna bowed formally, thank you for coming. Our daughter nearly died on an alien world, the Empress said, her voice carrying harmonics that suggested barely controlled emotion. Where else would we be? The Emperor's eyes fixed on me. You are David Chen, the human who saved our daughter. Yes, your majesty. You have our gratitude. The Theronian Empire owes you a debt that cannot easily be repaid. He moved closer, studying me. Velkorath's reports suggest you share resonance compatibility with the royal bloodline, that you bonded with our daughter through biological harmony. Is this true? According to your physicians, yes. I don't fully understand the science, but when I touched her, something connected. It stabilized her and created a permanent entanglement, the Empress added. You're bonded to the crown princess of the Ronia. Do you understand what that means politically? I'm starting to. Then you understand why we must ask, what are your intentions toward our daughter? Lyanna stepped forward. Mother, father, David has no intentions. He helped me because he's a good person, not because he wants political advantage. I've asked him to explain our relationship to you honestly, and I expect you to respect his answer. The Emperor looked between us, then actually smiled slightly. She's defending you. That tells us more than any formal testimony could. He turned to the Empress. What do you think, my heart? I think our daughter has found something rare, genuine friendship uncolored by political maneuvering. And I think this human is either very clever or very sincere, possibly both. She approached me directly. David Chen, we cannot ignore the bond you share with Lyanna. It is real, it is unprecedented, and it will have consequences. We offer you a position within the royal household, not as servant, but as honored friend to the crown princess. You would have diplomatic status, resources, and protection. You would also have obligations to understand our culture, to serve as a bridge between humans and the Ronians, to remain close enough that the resonance bond can be studied and understood. And if I refuse, then you're free to return to your former life. But the bond remains. You'll always be connected to our daughter, able to sense her across distances, and the palace will always watch you, wondering if you might become a threat or an asset. She smiled gently. There is no true freedom once you've touched royalty, David Chen, only degrees of complication. I looked at Lyanna, who was watching me with barely concealed hope. If I accept, I said slowly, I want conditions. I'm not a politician or diplomat. I'm a medic and a technician. Let me do what I'm good at, help people, fix things, build bridges through action rather than words. Don't make me a ceremonial figure or a political tool. Let me be useful in real ways. The Emperor laughed, a sound like crystal bells. A human who demands to work rather than accepting luxury. Lyanna, you've bonded with an unusual one. I know, she said, smiling. It's one of the things I like about him. Very well. The Empress extended her hand in a very human gesture. David Chen, we accept your conditions. You will be cultural bridge to the crown princess with responsibilities to foster understanding between our species through practical action. Welcome to the royal household. Try not to cause too many more diplomatic incidents. I shook her hand, feeling that same harmonic resonance I'd felt with Lyanna, though much fainter. I'll do my best, Your Majesty, though I can't promise anything. Diplomatic incidents seem to follow me lately. Then you'll fit right in with the royal family, the Emperor said wryly. We're quite good at them ourselves. 6 months later, I stood in a newly constructed medical research facility on the Theronian homeworld, watching human and Theronian physicians work together on resonance compatibility studies. The research born from my bond with Lyanna had opened entirely new fields of xenobiology and could potentially allow other humans and Theronians to work together more safely. Lyanna found me there, as she often did. The resonance bond let us sense each other's location and emotional state, useful for someone who was now technically my boss and my best friend. Hiding in the lab again? She asked. Observing, there's a difference. The delegation from Mars Colony is waiting to meet you. Something about establishing Theronian medical facilities on human worlds. Can't you handle it? You're much better at the diplomatic stuff. I could. But they specifically requested the human who saved the princess. You're famous now, David. That's the price of touching royalty, she smiled. Besides, you promised to be useful. This is useful. I sighed, but followed her toward the diplomatic chambers. She was right. This was the job I'd accepted, building bridges, fostering understanding, being living proof that humans and Theronians could work together. Hey, Lyanna, I said as we walked. Yeah, thanks for the whole diplomatic incident thing. For making my life complicated in interesting ways. She laughed, that harmonizing sound that still made my translator implant glitch slightly. Thanks for saving my life with one touch, and for staying after you didn't have to. Where else would I go? You're kind of stuck with me now, biology and everything. Good, because I'm keeping you. We entered the diplomatic chamber together, human and Theronian, bonded by accident and friendship by choice, ready to face whatever complicated consequences came next. One touch had saved a princess, but it had done something more important too. It had proven that connection between species was possible. That resonance, whether biological or emotional, could bridge any gap. And sometimes, the most important diplomatic breakthroughs happen not in grand negotiations, but in simple moments of one person helping another without thinking about consequences. The palace had wanted answers. They got something better, proof that the future belonged to those willing to reach across divides and touch the unknown with open hands and good intentions, even if it did create diplomatic incidents along the way.